A piece of Canadian aviation history has also been found and is being pulled from the bottom of a lake in Ontario. Nearly 75 years ago, two small search and rescue planes crashed during a mission. One was recovered, the other was believed lost for good, until a local resident took up the cause. Our colleague from Radio Canada, Frederic Pepin, has the story.
There it is, one of the first pieces of the Northrop A-17 Nomad aircraft that plunged into Muskoka Lake in 1940.
I was surprised to see that it was in such perfect shape. We could still read the number 3521 on the fuselage of the aircraft. It's amazing to see.
The operations manager, Major Jan Kennedy, also got choked up when she saw the identification of this plane that has been lost for 74 years.
It was an extremely emotional event.
For her and for all the military personnel on site, these pieces remind them that two of their own perished here. On December 13th, 1940, two of these Northrop A-17 crashed as they were conducting a search and rescue mission. The wreckage of the first airplane and the bodies of the pilots were discovered shortly after on the ice of the lake, but the Nomad 3521 was never found until 2012. The bodies of Lieutenant Peter Campbell and leading aircraftsman Theodore Bates were then returned to their families. The operation here on Lake Muskoka is going real quick. The cockpit, one of the wings, and now the tail of the plane has just been brought to the surface.
When we bring it back to the surface, we want to make sure that it's done properly and we don't raise the aircraft too fast because we don't want it to break.
Once all the pieces will have been brought to the surface, the wreckage will be delivered to the National Air Force Museum of Canada in Trenton.
They will either work to restore it or they will create a display showing it as is.
This plane would have never been found without Matt Fairbrass's determination. He created the Lost Airmen of Muskoka project, and with the help of his friends and underwater radar, he located the crash site.
Yeah, it's emotional.
And he's not the only one who feels this way. The mystery of the Nomad 3521 has been haunting the region for decades.
And after what had happened in Ottawa, this is still remembrance. And they never give up looking.
For him, this is a perfect example of military brotherhood, showing that no one goes forgotten, even 74 years later. Frederic Pepin, CBC News, Gravenhurst, Ontario.
One of the airmen in Frederic's story, Theodore Bates, had only received his pilot's wings the day before the crash. The Air Force says he hadn't even had the chance to sew them on his uniform and just tucked them into his pocket.